back to the desk, and we have a special guest together with us again. It is Goldberg. Apparently, it is Goldberg. Trouble is back.
Thank you for the guest appearance.
We don't have a long of time to talk about this one. Singularity versus X7. What can you expect? Because this is the last opportunity for Singularity to go to playoffs or to actually dream about playoffs.
It's a complicated story with Singularity because not only is the journey not in their own hands, surprisingly going 0-12, but
yes.
Listen here, the stakes have never been higher. You're up against the #1 team.
Okay, wait, let me phrase it differently.
And you cannot lose a single game.
Yeah.
If there's a backs up against the wall situation, this is the biggest ones we've had. If there ever was a time for us to start using David versus the Goliath as an analogy, now would be the time with Singularity from the bottom end of the standings, looking up towards X7, wanting to take down the Giants. That win streak for Singularity, it might start today, it might
For
not.
you to look up at them, you need to be on the same column of the standings.
Yeah.
And then not even on that side.
I mean, it's just like a...
So, just to put it very simple, Team Singularity need every single win from now on to even dream of making playoffs. Another team has to really slip up. They need to lose, another team need to lose 6 games straight for Singularity to make it through. No. And they have to play versus X7.
But if the standings are in an Excel sheet, then you can easily move up the column.
Champion select is on, and Akali and Akarim is banned alongside with Zeri. So the hyper carries are going to go through. Veigar is still available, and if Eminence picks if Tim picks Veigar, this could be another opening for them. What do you feel is going to happen?
Veigar's not fun. I don't want Tempt on
Veigar.
No.
Okay, you want Katarina.
So far,
I see that smile.
you chose Katarina. You can always count on that being a yes. But so far, 80 carries have been left open. Standard red side bans, all in all, coming through here. What I really liked last time for Singularity was when they had this draft where it was really easy to execute. They had a strong bot lane to play for. They had the weak side on the top side with Tattoo and the Gragas. This time around, though, that might be a little bit of a different story with the first big Graves coming through. I think that's certainly not something we would have seen coming, and especially not with everyone's favorite Powder being up.
You can lock in the Jinx Zal right now, which is absolutely unbeatable. It's just the strongest S tier double up pick that you can make. Jinx is like S tier hyper carry right now, and you're locking it in with the jungler who's literally a jackpot. He can do anything you want. And on the other side, you've got Graves.
You know what's really horrible as well is the fact that the blind, well, no, the blind picks you had to come through with X7 are just S tier picks, and you still have red side to pick from as well. So the solo laners of X7 is going to be having a field day as well. Even now, if Team Singularity wants to secure a support, they're going to be in a difficult position. And if not, then you can third pick a support from X7, and then you can start banning away some of the counters.
Yeah,
Hear me out. Yeah, what's up?
If my calculations are right,
calculations.
Tattoo is hopefully going to take that Graves where he belongs, which is a solo lane.
Okay.
And he's very strong in a solo lane because he can very freely farm, and he's in most of the matchups pretty okay, except a lot of times you struggle a little bit into Tryndamere, especially if the Tryndamere is like really, really good. And Jaeger, if I'm not wrong, has played the Tryndamere previously for X7. Now,
no.
You already have...
He hasn't. But move on. Yeah.
You're just adding some emphasis on your sentence.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. But you could on this one. Now, if my memory serves me right, on that one, Pop has played the Graves in the jungle.
Yes.
And he's not the easiest to facilitate for, but you've already locked in a Nautilus, which means you already have a lane to play through if you want to transition the Gragas into the jungle. So yes, you have sold a bunch of your hands, and yes, X7 have locked in S tier picks Zao and Jinx, but at least you've got the likes of a flex pick with the Graves where you can put him in there in jungle or top side.
Okay, that's great, but what's a flex pick that doesn't like, it's not a good flex pick into the Zao in the jungle.
Mate, don't tell me it's a Graves.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm trying to find the green light.
Okay, fair enough. And honestly, I like the Ryze coming in on 3 here as well from the side of X7, because usually I'm actually not the biggest fan of the huge Ryze priority we see, because I think quite often he will get outranged and he will get out-team fought, although Realm is a great tool. Now you already see a low-range Graves, you see the Aphelios, you already have the Jinx for yourself, you have the better jungler in the Sinsawa as well with the Crescent Strike, so having a Ryze here is really not a problem.
You say you have the better jungler until a Trundle gets locked in here and the Graves goes topside.
Well, that could be, obviously, could be a good decision considering how immobile the carries are in the backline here. And honestly, Trouble, I think that's a really good shout to pick up from the side of Singularity.
She predicts and she always gets it correct, so let's see if Pop is going to play it.
It's not a prediction. I would just really like to see the
What
Graves.
makes sense.
I would just like to see Tatooine on that Graves because I know that he's really good into finding his way into the backline. He's really good on these heavy scaling champions as well. And Pop is going to bring up once again the Ivan. It was played with Tristana in the mid lane last time. This time it's going to be Dragain on Cassiopeia.
Now this is interesting. Cashew into the Ryze matchup used to be like an old matchup with these champions always been meta back then, and was a little bit Cashew favored as well, just because of the extra little range you could get, the slow from the Miasma, obviously having the Phase Rush to mitigate that. But second time we see Pop as well on the Ivan, you have good value in extended team fights. But
Make it a yes.
Now he plays Trinda, yeah. Now he plays yes, yeah.
So it's interesting with Tryndamere. Quite often when you get a Tryndamere matchup into the Graves matchup, you'll see the Tryndamere start running Ghost, and that often makes the matchup different for the Graves as well. So he no longer takes Teleport himself. He'll either have to go Ghost or Exhaust himself, because if he doesn't, he's just going to get run down in lane by the Tryndamere. So it's something where you can look to utilize the side lanes. And I will say though, I think Team Singularity still have ways to play these team fights. I don't think they're heavily outdrafted in this situation.
I actually really like what Singularity have here because everything is short range, but then you have three melees, and a Ryze who's very short range wanting to run into you so you can peel. And if you can kill that Tryndamere in CC as well, he doesn't get to pop the ultimate at all. He just ends up dying. So I think you've got a pretty good team to fight versus such short range. Now, are you going to be able to kill the frontal really fast to get to the Jinx before the Jinx kills you? Because with Singularity, you're very, very squishy.
Last take. I want to give it to you because I know you want to talk. Last take, really fast.
I was just leaning forward. I was waiting for the game.
There we go.
Last take.
That's
Take
the
it
take. Last opportunity for Singularity to actually take a win, take it to the playoffs. It's the dream, but we know if they're going to be able to do it. It is Mickey Mouse versus Kratos. It is one of the best matchups, and I'll send it to you, Costers.
Do we tell them?
Do we tell them?
Do we have? I think we have to tell them.
Yes.
So, we are gathered here today to mourn the death of the Singularity playoffs dream.
Make sure I'm
With Dusty and Riddle winning earlier, there is no longer possible for them to make playoffs.
No.
So everything that we dreamed of is crashed, it's burned, it's blue shell time only.
I told you in our pre-show that I was going to get you on a course of X7 VODs. Maybe this will be enough. Into Singularity for the reality to set in. Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do without this.
Yeah,
I'm going to do this.
So to clarify, the reasoning was, with Riddle and Dusty, we were at 6 wins, and there were only 6 games left to play. In order for Singularity to even had a chance at playoffs, they would have had to go 6-0 and have one of Riddle or Dusty both go 0-6 in the last 6 games. Unfortunately for Singularity, Riddle and Dusty did win today. So Singularity now out of playoffs contention, however slim a chance it would have been. That said, they nearly took a win off Riddle last week, and they were very frustrated by the way things like the Baron went out in the later game. And X7 currently in first place. This is a chance for Singularity to instead play blue shell, as you like to phrase it.
Yes.
And make, Excel's job a little easier, because obviously they've got the 0-2 versus X7, but if they do drop a game here and there where they shouldn't, there's still a chance for XL to go for first.
And of course, the last bit about stakes, obviously, X7, they were here to impress, and they've kind of done that job versus JDXL, their main competition.
Monstrous.
Now, that doesn't mean they can't give us some extra thoughts, an extra question mark of, oi, you can't just be losing to a team like Singularity that are 0-12. On the side of Singularity, of course, there is no promotion relegation at the end of spring. That only happens at the end of the summer split, so they are still here to develop. They still got some time. No, they won't be locked into playoffs. They won't have that experience, but there is a level of safety there for them to try and reconsider their standing in this split. Could have ourselves a level 1 as Yeppe activates that. Actually, both supports going for the Aftershock, neither going for the Glacial, wanting that extra tankiness themselves. They might need it now.
Indeed, and of course, Xing on the Alistair is not a pick we see so much of these days. It was, of course, more popular a couple years ago. But as it stands, it's still something that's a little bit more of a rarity, especially now we've moved more towards things like the pick champions and honestly, enchanters, even in the bot side. Made the likes of Alistair's melee abilities and ranges a little bit difficult to pull off.
And it was actually a very ego pick in the draft, if I say so myself, because you picked that on 4 with a couple of picks left, and it was opening up a potential Silas pick. It was opening up a potential, everything is Dragana really going in deep onto that level 2 to level 1. Of course, Cassiopeia always was a decent matchup into the likes of the Rise, slightly outranges them, has huge impact in team fights. And then you look at how they're going to deal with the rest of this team. If you're going to be the Tryndamere, you're going to be this ass trying to run forwards. If you're stuck in that miasma, of course, you're then grounded. It makes it harder for you to navigate those team fights if you're kind of going down the absolute jaws of this team fight. If you're running straight down into them, it gets very difficult fighting into Cassiopeia. So X7, their task this game is going to be, can you stop Singularity from setting up or find different ways to approach the fight? That's what I'm keeping my eyes on.
Okay.
Singularity looking to deny that.
Of course, for X7, they've got themselves some very mean-looking side laners. Rise and Tryndamere, known for their ability to play side lanes and to outplay people coming in to try and stop them. Rise also turned to Porp and Haru. Last week, Haru put on a clinic. He absolutely eviscerated JDXL in the early game, running rampant on the Hecarim, going 9-0, and stomping out a game that we thought could be close, could be tight, that JDXL may be even favored into, and X7 put doubts in their abilities quite heavily to rest in that week. On the other side, Porp pulled out the Ivern a couple weeks ago.
With a Tristana, yes.
Yeah, did quite a good job with it, honestly. Was making things happen in the early game, but Singularity have not been able to convert early plays, early leads sometimes, into meaningful mid-game proactivity that gets them far enough ahead to contest.
Yeah, but you know, you look back to that last game, which Singularity had on the other side, and you think, okay, well, they had a really good early game versus Riddle. They were winning in the 2v2. They were solo killing. And of course, you look back to Spike even picking up the Zeri game a couple of games before that. I think that was against Astralis, sadly, and a loss to them again, but managed to pull off some really good, feel-good moments, if nothing else, getting, 8 or 9 kills on the board. This could be a very big confidence booster for all of these players. Putting down that mark on the scuttle, zoning out where Haru is, and largely just trying to farm up into relevance. And that first, well, actually boots first is really important on the Ivern as well, to get the lucidity, get yourself some extra ability haste to spam out more shields, and trying to survive through to that point where Jin Sao is, of course, really strong pre-level 3.
To explain why I'm chuckling there a little bit, I thought you were going to say Cassiopeia, but wait, Cassiopeia can't buy boots, and I was just being dumb, was actually where that was.
Okay, look, I know that sometimes my predictions are called into question. I know that I like to put out some hot takes, but that one I'm fairly sure I wouldn't have done.
It's literally impossible. Yes, no. Snakeskin boots could be an option for the side of X7 if they come there.
Do you remember when Cassiopeia's passive wasn't the move speed, but it was the stacking AP and everything?
Really
it was crazy, absolutely crazy. You ended up getting effectively a death cap's worth of power at the end of it, like that little evolving passive. Luckily, we don't have to deal with that anymore, so I don't have to remember exactly what it did because it's no longer relevant. Isn't that nice?
I'm happy for you.
I am.
I honestly
I'm less happy for the
game,
Sing.
as we've got a bit of a play in the bot side. Yepe having to flash out. Spiky though, with the grab to the Inferno, can make a lot of hell as Kasing has to flash out. Good early gank there from Porp, forces all the summoners out of X7's bot lane. Spiky though only has a flash remaining, so it's not like Singularity are super happy with the amount of summoners
so
they have.
This is one of the X factors of the Ivern, but it's not there to help mid.
Gane gonna try and stay alive, but wait, the turnaround could potentially be there. Porp goes forwards, but is just about okay. Throws out the Pengu dab. No Schliegums in this game as the name of that emote comes through.
Level 6 from Jaeger.
Oh my days, that could have been scary, but the mocking shout not quite enough.
Okay,
Will be burning the ghost in trade with Jaegers though.
Yeah, I was wondering if that should have just been a full dive at that point. Of course, both popping that ghost. Level 6, level 5. And Tatui somehow falling behind in the XP here.
Does not have Ghost, does have Flash. Both of these people have Flash. The mocking shout had come through, and Jaeger throws out the collateral damage early to try and clear the way, but it means there'll be an early reset. There's no teleport, remember. This is Flash Ghost Graves.
It is, but now, of course, both of those ghosts are gone. I'm actually very interested in seeing how Jaeger itemizes into this matchup, because Graves should be going Hullbreaker first in this matchup. That's my belief in it. It stops the Tryndamere having such rampant kill pressure. But if you get a lead on that Tryndamere and you get up to, or you can build a Hullbreaker yourself, you go towards a Gale Force, something like Navori Quickblades afterwards. If you go Hullbreaker to Hullbreaker in this matchup and you get 2-3 items, Graves doesn't have that much ability to stand and fight We've seen that not necessarily in EU, because we've only seen a couple of Trindamirs. We've seen it across some other regions. Of course, we're both very familiar with the LGL, with the whole breakers taking over. PCS, very similar. LPL somehow avoided it. But either way, you look at how the Trindamirs have been playing it out on the Western regions, and actually they haven't been building that well into the Graves, and the Graves managing to survive. Pop looking to survive and is in a lot of danger.
And he's going to try and play it out as best he can. The Brushmaker comes down, but I don't think there's any way you get to outplay that. Guerrilla Warfare not going to work, as at the top side, Jaeger flashes and gets the kill onto Tui. That is a problem. You called out the Tryndamere getting a lead. That's exactly what we were worried about.
Exactly, because now you have a lead on the Tryndamere, you have a lead in your mid-jungle 2v2 to boot, because Dragana already went down. Maybe bot lane can be the saving grace.
Yeah, Pei managed to find a hook, but Nata is starting to be able to trade this out. Remember, there's not a lot of summoners to go around. The double Gravitum route comes through with the Binding Eclipse, but Spiky with the Infernum and the Crescendum, they get too much more. Another hook lands, though. Kassin goes down, and maybe they can run down for more. Spiky flashing forward. It's an onslaught of Crescendums, and they'll get a double onto the Aphelios.
Okay, so one of the lanes stands up and is accounted for. It's Nata and it's Kassin that bite the bad end of that trade. It's going to be a huge wave loss to this tower as well, but overall X7 still not unhappy with the state of the map. Sure, you give up a couple of kills. Yes, they're to an Aphelios, but the top side of your map is still running rampant. Singularity picking up a dragon, have to see how that carries on through the game, but X7, make no mistake, I still feel like they're in control of this game. It's early days, but still giving this much gold to the likes of the Tryndamere and everyone on the top side, a very dangerous prospect.
Absolutely, and let's see what happens in the bot side, because Yepe actually had a significant HP disadvantage, but lands a gorgeous dredge line.
100%, and we know that the bot lane of Singularity really stepped up against Riddle. They were 2v2 killing. We know that this bot lane has found their comfort now. They're starting to find these trades, and to succeed at this level, considering the expectations for this team against a team of this level too, is still, again, one of those feel-good moments for Singularity, though the results are obviously not what they wanted. Now the question is, what can you do with this lead? If you're going to play that blue shell, we're going to keep using that term. If you're going to do that, you need to start really utilizing this gold put on the Aphelios to its best extent.
And again, this is one of the reasons why we see a little less Alistair these days. Once the Aftershock is down, you can re-engage, particularly pre-6, and that's the kind of thing that can happen. And shout out to Spiky as well. Great weapon management. Went from the Duskwave and the Gravitum into the Severum and the Crescendum, got the Flash Onslaught. That's just well played on the Aphelios.
See, this is great because you know that I know all of Aphelios' weapon names and the ability names of it. Now, I know that most of the audience probably doesn't give a damn about Aphelios' ability names.
Yeah,
because it's just like, oh, which one's the one where you spin around flying out with all the red guns and stuff? Well, okay, we'll try and educate a few people through that. If you didn't care, I mean, you might still not, but we're still going to tell you anyway.
Yeah, well, that's kind of our jobs, in fairness.
Okay, that's a good point, well made. I don't really know how to respond to that apart from, well, yes, it's a fair cop, you got me.
Got a little bit of interesting positioning here from both bot lanes again as the focus remains down here with summoners beginning to come back up again. But of course, Spiky did burn the flash, and that was the summoner advantage that Singularity had. It could turn around as a disadvantage as Dragane does manage to outplay that one a little bit, but a good play around the bush there to control the control ward. Maybe I should have chosen a better word there. Either way, still looking at a very hefty advantage for the Tryndamere, and a pretty scary Rise as well, who's going to continue to be pretty scary with this ghost on the teleports.
This bot lane was the one hole in that net, and Haru was making sure to try and patch that up with a bit of vision control. Haru's still spotted. I love how Tempt is playing this. He's going down towards the bot side. He's got himself a ghost. He's got himself an ultimate. He's got himself an ability to impact this bot lane.
Jaeger's dropped the ghost, he's got himself an Undying Rage, and he screams like Grog Stonejaw, I would like to rage! Bot side though, it's a 1-for-1, it's actually Spiky picks up a kill and stays alive. That's still Natu who picks up one back, who gets excited. A 1-for-1 right now, Dragane has come down here. Daisy summoned, but the Stone Golem falls, but Haru was a trade out for Yepe. The HP bars were a little dicey for Singularity, but they do stall any further dives.
They do, but I mean, that's actually one of the better case scenarios on the bot side for Singularity, but Dragane, no!
That's such a bad position, gets taken out, the petrifying gaze means nothing, and instead it's a monument put atop his own grave, turns into a statue, rather, does the Cassiopeia.
So this has been the story for Singularity, and also, again, credit to X7 for feeding off of the mistakes, really just preying upon them, because Singularity, they get themselves a decent trade in the bot side. Actually doesn't matter towards that top side. That gold lead blowing out of control. So at least you'd hope on the side of Singularity that they could maybe maintain something on the bot side. They do get a decent counterplay to this. Once again, jungler is in place, but again, it's kind of turned around with everything that happened afterwards with Dragani just stepping a bit too far.
It is, and of course they did at least stop that Herald as you mentioned, but this here, look, that ward, that single ward there as they see.
It all started with that ward, that damn ward, but they didn't track the Alistar.
They saw Temp recalling, they thought they could
Temp
catch
recalling, thought they could get a catch. Of course, Cass still had that flash, still had the ult, had the W, has a lot of damage at this point. Trying to find those micro plays, instead finds himself a not so micro death.
That's a lot of gold going now into X7's pockets. Jaeger got a second solo kill, as I mentioned. I made the Fox Machina reference for a reason. That Berserker is off the chain right now. Looking more and more like he's got some very scary magical weapons in inventory with the Gale Force in. Bot side, though, is Singularity's one saving grace because Spikey did pick up a third kill, but Dragane being kind of forced to retreat a little bit here, but Singularity might want to contest, honestly.
Okay, well, Yeppy walking up into a difficult position. See, the Singularity are trying to control something around the mid lane. They know that if these Realm Warps start coming out and even faster and faster rhythm, it's going to be difficult for them to play. Nata is not going to get caught. Porp is going to get trapped off. Potential for Kasing to go in.
You can see Daisy just playing block and making things difficult. Kasing can't quite get far enough forward. Tempt on the other side does get hooked. Needs to be a little bit afraid. Knocked up with the depth charge. I apologize. Moonshot went wide. Daisy falls, and I think they want to retreat, but wait, Kasing got rooted, he's gone too deep, does have himself an unbreakable will to make him sure he's safe. He walked forwards! That was risky, he just goes down, that's a fourth kill to Spikey. Haru going in, but gets rooted by the Binding Eclipse. At the other side, Porp down to no HP. Petrifying Gaze comes through, but they won't be able to secure the kill. Spikey has to flash away. It's a 1-for-1 in the end, but the kill, importantly for Singularity, ends up in Aphelios' hands.
It does, but again, look at the rest of the map. You're getting another wave pushed in. It's a bloody standstill yet again in the bot side, but the Tryndamere is starting to pop off. Jaeger has that gold. We talked about, oh yeah, this matchup, very important to see how the Tryndamere itemizes. It's very important to see how far ahead he can get. And as much as Singularity are trading as good as they get on one area of the map, and they're trying to punch upwards, X7, they're finding the advantages where they've been given to them, and they're using them well.
Oh, yes, they are. Over 35 CS and 2 levels is this Tryndamere ahead. Every time we look over, it's Tui in a dangerous position.
Gosh.
You can see the gold discrepancy is monumental. Bot side is the one change. There is a lead for Spikey, but Tempt, Haru, so much difference as Jaeger could maybe think about doing it again, but not quite yet.
And he briefly popped over to the individual gold there, of course, a huge advantage in that top lane.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that Fort Knox actually had a 7 attached after the X on the end of that name, because that's what Jaeger's dragging around with him. It is a whole bunch of just bricked gold. Just
gold reserves for a small country.
No, he's got bricks of gold in a burlap sack, and he's whacking Tatooine around their face with it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I keep making all the D&D references, but right now with the 2-0 start, like, he gets the rage, he's got himself a nat 20 every time he hits. It's a critical strike. See, it works. And, like, there's not a lot this Graves can do. He's got the steel caps, he's got himself a phase, but he's going to be in a 1 versus 2 as Jaeger, and I think he might still outplay this. The Ghost is down, the Enduring Rage is still available, throws down the Mocking Shout. There will be the Death Dodge, stops him, gets the kill anyway. He'll die in trade, surely, but it'll be Yeppe that picks up the shutdown. And that is a frustration for Tatui, and Tempt is here to maybe continue the pressure anyway. Nata and Kasing could be the sacrifice to Spikey coming over. Remember, he's got a Moonlight Vigil that goes wide. That means there's no Graviton Binding Eclipse to hit, and they'll back away as Haru summons Herald number 2 in the top lane.
And I always thought of the Graviton Aphelios ult, much like the Varus ultimate, Moonlight Varus, you might even say. But remember, that skill shot used to be the slimmest in the game and so damn hard to hit, but Spikey kind of missing a bit of a sitter, whereas Tatui sitting under this turret. I mean, even a 1v2, the Tryndamere starting to really flex those muscles. This was a matchup that was left alone for a little too long, perhaps. You can start to stabilize it with a bit of pressure, but of course, Porp was called all around the map, and with that early death himself, couldn't end up stabilizing it. See what happens when you let a Tryndamere go completely off the chain.
3-1 gets the kill in a 1v2 at the inhibitor turret. You're looking at Tempt, who is, despite some potential challenges with range discrepancies into the Cassiopeia, has done very well in that lane. They've managed to get most of the outer turrets. They are, only the bot lane remains, and Jaeger will make short work of that, I'm sure, in moments. The only place which has been a little bit back and forth is this bot lane, and even then, X7 have made some successful plays there as well. Really, Singularity's hopes all rest on Spikey, and he's doing okay, but I don't know how easy it's going to be, and bluntly, X7 don't have to commit to a 5v5 where the Aphelios is
and that's
anyway.
the big thing. That's exactly the point I wanted to make next. You've completely read my mind in terms of X7, they might have to fight against a fair Aphelios as well. They're fighting against the Tryndamere right now with Singularity.
They go back in, it's going to be a 2v2. Jaeger's got the Undying Rage, the crit strikes are there, can keep going on to Porp. That is a Super Mega Death Rocket, and that is a double kill to Jaeger. 5-1-0. You just can't stop this Berserker. The king is in town. It's not just the Freljord he wants the crown in the NLC. It's another turret, and X7 can do no wrong in these side lanes.
They absolutely can't, because Singularity can't get there in force. They can't get there in the 5v5. We mentioned that so early. It was so obvious that Singularity wanted to fight front to back, play with all their pieces in the same area of the map, and X7 have just not given it to them. Yes, they've traded occasionally, but these are the fights which they love to take, and Singularity, they're playing right into them.
Turn around to avoid the Petrifying Gaze, and then the Gale Force and the turnaround. It's just too clean.
I mean, yes, you can see that the miasma to go down to stop the first spin, but you have to be stood on it to stop it. He walks off of it, spins back into it. And the poor Cassiopeia really had nothing more to say after that.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like, less like a sword spin, more like an Apache helicopter at this point, as that Tryndamere spinning slash. So much damage.
I'm not sure he's going to be attacking at 3,000 rounds per minute, but maybe the same amount of damage as something like a mini gun. Singularity trying to launch their own alpha strikes towards that bot side, but not able to find anything themselves. And again, that's just been Singularity finally have their own members stacked up in one area. They're trying to get towards the dragon, but at this point, they're 10,000 gold down. Like, this isn't a last hurrah. This is trying to weakly raise a flag as you see the onslaught of cavalry charge coming towards you.
Exactly, 17 minutes in, it was 10,000 gold. It's a minute later, and it's not changed, unsurprisingly, but Navori Quick Blades are in. The 2 items were in to attempt a long time ago. Natas at 1.5 items, been doing just fine. There's a stopwatch in inventory for Haru, and Singularity, you've got perhaps this chance to fight before the item discrepancy gets too big. They want this Infernal Drake, but I don't know how it's going to be. Kasing! It's a 2-man headbutt pulverized. At least Spikey stays alive. Can he turn it around? He's got Severum and Crescendo Red and White. Good night, but it's actually Singularity that's falling down. The double spinning slash deletes 2. Petrifying Gaze gets 1. Haru is traded back, and that is a lot of chakrams around Spikey, but he needs to stay alive. Rune.
A quadra? Penta?
Secures the kill. It is a quadra kill for Tempt. They're going to try and get him in. It is a mocking shout, and Tryndamere finds the pentakill. Is it Thursday yet, apparently?
Oh man, hail to the barbarian king. Jaeger stamps down his authority, and this Tryndamere, you left him alone. He turns up to all of your members. This is not a champion that is meant to be able to team fight, and yet they are so far off the handle. Spam out your T-Tours as he takes a whistle-stop tour across all of the members of Singularity.
There's just no stopping him. Jaeger, we've had some questions about him occasionally, but we've always known he's a man to go for the plays. The pentakill in this one, the T-Tours, the cinematic overtures. This is a horror movie in slow motion.
Oh gosh, look at those hard cuts to the spins, and he was cutting very, very hard.
He's got 19 minutes!
Got himself 3 items just before 20 minutes. I mean, that was with a team behind him. You know, I wonder if he could do that again without a team now.
He's a Dark Souls boss. He's just going to come at you. You're going to need to dodge roll and hope.
We saw that gold there. He's on 12,000 gold.
Lord.
12,000 gold. He's gone into practice tool and clicked the gold button a couple of times. Whereas Tattoo is sounding like somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000. He has almost doubled his lane opponent's resources. Singularity, they're trying to go back to the Pinata, but they're the ones getting hit by the baseball bat.
And 1-0 Tempt manages to pop the phase, right, well, the Ghost alongside himself, and he gets away from the depth charge. Now the turnaround comes in. It might be another set of kills. Nata picks this one up. No second pentakillers yet for the side of Jaeger, but it's a double. Maybe they can look for another jinx instead. Spikey needs to stay alive. It's Tempt that secures that one, but Haru is chasing further. Porp is going to dash away best he can. There's not enough room. A double for Tempt, a double for Nata, and a very large Baron Nashor that will be their prize. And all the while, Jaeger and Tatui with no teleports are in the bot lane. I think Jaeger might just look for a dive here, potentially. He's still got that 2-level advantage. The mocking shout forces Tatui away, and I don't think he can even think about contesting a 10-1 Tryndamere.
This is not having your cake and eating it. This is eating out the entire buffet. This is
This is going into the center of London, center of Tokyo, saying, here are my fat stacks of cash. I want the bakery. It's like, own the shop.
And Jaeger has, credit to him, gone and got that bread. He is insanely powerful, but every single member of X7 is at this point. SNG say, sweet, we have a 4v4 without the Trinity. That's 10 of their kills gone. Well, yeah, I mean, take 10 kills off the board, and you're still behind in gold. You're still behind in the amount of kills there. too. Spiky, I mean, tries to go fight through, has himself the Infernum, tries to get that AoE through that front line to the back line, but, I mean, there's only so much the Ivern can do, and he's left to become mulched paper at the end of that fight, too.
And don't get me wrong, Infernum and Gravitum, the purple and blue guns, you can do a lot of AoE routes. You've got some good ways to set things up, but when you're trying to run away, when you're trying to heal up, it's not the easiest at that point, and there wasn't a lot he could do even with the Gale Force, and got a bit challenging, really.
And as much as we have occasionally said to X7, you know, particularly in the mid-split just before this, saying, oh, maybe they weren't taking some of their games seriously. This one, they are seriously turning up to play, turning up to impress. This is going to be a 1v3 with the Trinibit, but they haven't shut him down. This is a double summon ultimate Trinibit. I don't think you want this fight. I think you want to disengage from this Singularity.
They're thinking about it anyway. Yepe's just recalling.
Let him go. Let him go. Don't try it.
They're going to try. That's Daisy over the wall, but you just can't think about it. He's got to leave it alone. He literally...
He's three-shot Daisy.
Wait, it was merely a two-shot. He was left on 11 HP after 2 auto attacks. That is unreal. He's got Ghost Pop. He's going to chase down Yepe. There's no way to stop it. It's a 6-level discrepancy for crying out loud. All the while, X7 are in the base. It's a flash.
Guns,
Talent strike. Poor pass to flash out. He gets him, does Jaeger. That'll be a double for Nata. Jaeger is here. There's a Realm Warp onto Spiky. Yeah, you've got Crescendum and Sever. It means Jack, all a quadra kill to Nata. Who cares about lane? X7 in 23 minutes prove why they have a world championship on their roster. It is not a victory. It is a trauma experience. X7 devastate the game.
Blunt force trauma, 12-1, undisputed top of the table, putting down the competition.
We had some questions about X7 a couple of weeks ago. They came in last week, they cracked their neck, and they went to work. Here in week 7, that work has not stopped. They are a lethal threat.
You know when a Grandmaster in chess goes to a tournament, they don't even watch their own board. They're looking at someone else, their actual rival across the table. That's what they're doing here. They are looking at your other regions, thank you very much, and saying, look at my board, see what I'm doing.
All you teams at EU Masters maybe want to be afraid. We've got another game to go, and we've got some interviews yet, so don't go anywhere. Artrom has some interviews for us still.
Back to the NLC, and obviously Singularity are out of the race for the playoffs, but still, we got ourselves our first pentakill of the split. Jaeger with the Tryndamere, one of the most champions in the league, but still we got a pentakill, and this is exactly what we need to focus on. Lovely game by X7, just taking Singularity by surprise. And I remember when we did the interview with Nias and he told us, like, okay, we're having fun with the other teams. We're not playing as seriously as we should. But I think they just ditched that idea out of the window. They're now looking to take some legs and arms. I don't know what is X7 thinking about it. But obviously, I'm going to find out as soon as I talk with the analyst, Pietre. I think I'm saying that name correctly?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, thank you, because I didn't got your name. Okay, so welcome, pleasure to meet you. And you guys were not playing around on this game. Can you talk to me through the process of the champion select and the Tryndamere versus the Graves?
So we were a bit surprised. Enemy first pick Graves. We didn't expect that. So we assume it's Flex pick. So the problem is they were blue side, so we could get good matchup anyway on solo lane. And when enemy locked Ivern, we were sure he's top side. So yeah, Jaeger played this matchup many times against top ERL players and always stomped it when he was on Tryndamere. So yeah, we were pretty confident he will win the lane. And yeah, even Haru was surprised because he even question mark pinged top lane when he got solo all the plays 11 minutes in without any jungler involved.
He took all the plates, he took the kills, he took the game by surprise and the pentakill as well. So tell me, you as an analyst, you have this information. What do you feel is the counterplay for Tryndamere, and how can you deal with that champion?
So I think mainly CC, good matchup. Yeah, I would say that's about it. Don't let him split, get mid control, and yeah, just lock him in place. And yeah, this game there was not much CC and any option to deal with this champion. And yeah, we were completely sure when it was R5. We were like everyone was on the same page. We want Tryndamere. He can 1v9 this game, and
I gotta say, there's not a lot to talk about this game from the X7 perspective because you guys completely destroyed the game, and not only that, I think you're pretty much secured for the playoffs, so I'm going to start talking with you about that because you are an analyst. So tell me, how do you prepare the team from the perspective of a best of one to the best of three scenario?
So I think we generally trying to more focus on ourselves rather than enemies. So yeah, that's only also from my perspective to play around that. So what we do well during best of one and what we do, how we can imply it into a longer series. Also, yeah, we have to be more ready during best of ones or more surprising picks like Ivor, let's say, and Mastery. We already played against. I think during best of three or best of fives, we can be more prepared on more standard things. So yeah.
Okay. And now that you told me how do you prepare the team, how do you prepare yourself? Like, how do you prepare you? Because most of the times we talk about the players, we talk how they prepare themselves for the game, how they practice throughout the week, but how do you, an analyst, prepare yourself to a best of three?
Okay, I think it's mainly the best thing. I think the best way for analysts to prepare a team is to ask what players need and coaching staff, what they need from me, and I think I just need to adapt whatever they say they need from me. I can deliver, and that's about it. About preparation against enemy team, about improving ourselves. Yeah, it's just adaptation from analyst perspective.
There's a lot of study on the background, like preparing your team, preparing the picks, what they pick as well, how they play, and giving all that information to the players because the players are usually concerned about the gameplay. So you allow yourself to study the enemies and give the information of the enemies to your team, right?
Yeah, generally it works that way. Right now, we are not that focused about our enemies. We are really focused on ourselves, on our practice, about what to do better as a team, less thinking about enemies right now. Maybe during playoffs we'll change strategy, but right now we are only focused on our practice and how we should improve.
Okay, interesting take. I love it. Thank you so much for the interview, man. It's a pleasure to always talk with people outside of the player base because you get a better perspective on what the people do on the background, and we don't see it on the game, but it's actually influencing the game. So thank you so much, and good luck for the rest games.
Pleasure for me too. Thank you.
Pleasure. X7 completely taking this one by surprise. Not surprised by just a storm and Jaeger on the top side with the Trinamir. And just as he told us, if you don't have CC, well, you got to deal with it, and you got to take all those critical strikes that RNG, you got to roll the dice and hope for the best. And it didn't go the way they intended. On the other side, though, on Singularity, I have Jeppe with me, the support, the Nautilus, and I would like to talk with him about what happened and also about the future. Jeppe, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you back on the interview. I know it could be on better terms. I know it was a bad game versus X7. Also, the last opportunity to get into the playoffs. How do you feel?
I mean, all of us kind of figured out when we started losing to Astralis, and like last week we started losing when we still had like both Excel and Bifrost and X7 up. That is most likely not gonna happen, but of course, we still talked about like the miracle run. We are not really devastated. Like we played bad against the teams we're competing the playoff spot for. So yeah, we're okay with it.
Not only that, the champion select itself seemed a little bit more fresh, and you guys played accordingly to it. It was not like the Mastery with the Tadic, where you didn't have enough movement speed to give to the team, allow Mastery to go to the backside. On this matchup specifically, it seemed like the team was ready to take it on. So you have new staff with the team. Tell me, is the plan looking for the next split, or you guys are still looking for something on this split?
I mean, the big goal is next split. Like we're gonna hit hard next split, but we are not giving up this split either. Like we want to show that we are here to compete, and that we're not just a run over team. Except X7 just kind of did that, but that's like a one-time thing, right? But we showed life in the bot lane today, and we're gonna do that every single game from now on. Me and Spiky started figuring out how to talk to each other and actually play bot lane together. So the other teams should start being afraid of us bot lane. So now we just need to like steamroll a bit harder bot lane so we can carry.
I mean, your AD carry was 4-0 versus X7. That is something to take into consideration, that it is working on the bot lane at least. So tell me now, enough about the teams, enough about the split. I want to know about you. Jeppe, what is your dream? What is your objective right now?
Oh, that's two completely different things.
Okay.
My objective right now is to, like, at the start of the split, everybody was like putting me bottom tier of the tier list. I'm not totally disagreeing with them, but I want to show that I have the potential to be like a big player. You know, like I'm not somebody who people can just say, he's bad. And my dream, yeah. Like, I kind of have two dreams, you know? Like, one dream is to live happily ever after with a cute girl and get some kids. And the other dream is, of course, to go pro in League and, like, live completely off that.
Okay, I love it. I want to see that in the future. And, well, congratulations no matter what. You guys looked stellar today. Even though you guys lost the game and lost the ability to go to the playoffs, the team certainly seems a little bit different. And who knows, until the end of the split, you might get the W and show everybody that you're actually a really good support and people will take it. I know you are, so thank you so much for this interview yet again.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. And with this, Singularity out of the run, but this doesn't mean that they'll just stay idle and cross arms. No. We'll have to see and wait until the end of the split. But now, for the next game, we have JDXL versus Nuriki, the last game of the day. So be sure to stay around, and I'll see you soon.